Was the Great Pyramid a power plant? The interior design, materials used, and chemical substances found inside suggest it might have been. Let me explain how by starting with the shafts leading to the Queen's Chamber, where they found remnants of hydrochloric acid in the northern shaft and traces of hydrated zinc chloride in the southern shaft. If you mix the two, it produces hydrogen. Christopher Dunn, a former engineer at a Midwest aerospace manufacturer, explains in details this exact mechanism used in the Queen's Chamber.
You have two conduits coming into a chamber, but they're not connected to the chamber. The shafts ending 5 inches before coming into the chamber. There are two chemicals that I propose are manufactured and delivered to those shafts. They're introduced into the chamber. The chemicals would not just stay there. It would go through it, but it would go through it at a certain rate. How would you determine the flow rate going through limestone? Well, that would depend on how much pressure is pushing against the limestone. There was a block on the other end of the shaft, and through the block are 2 metal fittings. So when the fluid or the chemical was covering those metal fittings, I call them electrodes, there would be a closed circuit. When the fluid level dropped, it would open the circuit and signal the need for more chemicals to be pumped in order to maintain a head pressure, in order to make sure that there is an accurate supply of that chemical. And the chemicals mix and they boil off hydrogen.
This hydrogen then travels to the Grand Gallery, which is lined with rose granite, a limestone rich in quartz. As the hydrogen accumulates, it compresses the air, and because of the existence of quartz in those limestones, it generates electricity and ionizes the air, thereby increasing the chamber's conductivity. Acoustic technology amplifies this whole process, linked to the subterranean chamber's water-generated sound waves that are resonating at the Earth's frequency, or Schumann resonance, or 440 Hz at F sharp. The Grand Gallery's 27 holes likely held resonators that amplifies these sound waves, creating a highly energized atmosphere rising to the King's Chamber. The King's Chamber, which also resonates at 440 Hz, was carefully tuned by adjusting its volume. This fine-tuning was achieved by using 4 layers of granite beams stacked and separated by air gaps, each beam having 3 sides flat and the top side being rough cut to create a specific volume for each air gap. The King's Chamber is basically a Helmholtz resonator. It's similar to blowing air across the top of a bottle and creating sounds. You change the volume of the liquid inside the bottle, you change the pitch of the sound. This tuning allowed the chamber to match a specific frequency, creating an energized atmosphere ready to interact with hydrogen microwaves directed through the northern shaft. Christopher Dunn explains how this process was done.
We are bombarded with microwaves every day. I mean, it's the signal from, they say, the Big Bang. The northern shaft has dimensions and has an appearance that is similar to a waveguide that you would use for microwaves. The dimensions approximate the wavelength of hydrogen.
Christopher Dunn further explains how a newly discovered chamber supports his theory of channeling hydrogen microwaves through the northern shaft in the King's Chamber.
This chamber kind of wraps around the northern shaft, which prompted my research associate Eric Wilson, who's a aerospace engineer, to suggest that actually complete my theory because it would serve as a preamp for the microwave. So basically, the northern shaft carries a microwave signal. That signal passes through an amplifier, and then when it comes to entering into the King's Chamber, it goes through 4 bends. That's to be able to correct the beam, so that when it does enter the pyramid, it is coherent and it goes in straight. And it's like a laser, and then the signal enters into the chamber and collects the energy that has been accumulating in that space. So you've got 2 different kinds of energy now flowing through the Great Pyramid: electromagnetic energy, mechanical energy.
This accumulated energy would concentrate and transmit to the pyramid's apex, which originally had a golden capstone. We all know that gold is known for its excellent conductivity and ability to withstand high electric charges. This energy could then be distributed into the atmosphere, similar to a Tesla coil. Nikola Tesla demonstrated atmospheric energy transmission on a smaller scale by lighting up unwired light bulbs spread out in a field with his machine nearby turned on. He envisioned a larger model with his Wardenclyffe Tower, but we all know what happened to his project. He was never allowed to finish it. So do you think the Great Pyramid was merely a tomb for Khufu, or is it the only structure remained from an advanced civilization predating the ancient Egyptians, possibly completely wiped out by a catastrophic event, leaving almost nothing behind except for their central power plant?